Good morning, my name is Michael Suter. This is Diamond Seed Astrology video number 7. The topic of this video is going to be solar archetypes in context, and I'm going to be getting into a lot of information about solar cults and the other types of original cults that kind of pervade human consciousness. These are sort of archetypal ideas that are really imprinted upon human consciousness that always reappear, and the various cults and mindsets and archetypes will never go away. They are part of human consciousness, and the best thing we can do is to get some perspective on what these are, and not allow each of them to be, or any of them rather, to dominate our consciousness completely, as compelling as certain one of these cults might be. We need to remember that the energetics of the universe does not really support one monolithic way of thinking about the world and what the world is, and it's a richness of diversity of opinion that gives us the most information about how the universe really works, and I think that's fairly self-evident in our current day and age. So one of the reasons I'm making this video today is I've seen this meme that's on social media a lot, and it's usually it has this sort of a conquistador character who's speaking to like some New World indigenous people and telling them, if it weren't for us, you would still be worshiping the sun. And the indigenous person says something like, yeah, well, but the sun is real, as to somehow indicate to the conquistador that their God isn't. So there's so much irony in that meme that there's no reason to believe that the people who put that up there actually understand how ironic that is, because our conquistador character is most likely a sun cult member themselves, which is of course Christianity. Christianity has taken the trappings of sun cults and the ideology of sun cults, going back way before the birth of Christ, whenever that actually was, and it's just spectacular irony that what we're actually looking at is two sun cult members. One of them is a self-aware sun cult member, and the other is a sun cult member who has forgotten that they are a sun cult member. But there still are a sun cult member. So the irony of that is pretty spectacular. So the subtitle of my presentation is Sun Cults, Is Yours Any Different? So this is not in any way to be construed as an attack on Christianity. However, there is a herd going charging back towards Christianity in the contemporary climate today, because there seems to be a need for a bulwark, sort of an ideological bulwark, a organized structure to run back to prevent the backsliding of humanity into the absolutely horrific transhumanist cult that we're seeing unfolding today. So, to be clear, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, so to speak. So anybody who is attempting to set up the the bulwark against the ideological slide into this communitarian post-humanist, transhumanist nightmare is doing a good thing. My desire in making this video and other videos is to allow not say allow, but to introduce a bit more historical context to this situation, because if we just charge back towards sun cult, we are going to repeat a lot of the problems that came with Christianity, which are far worse than most people realize, going back to the Dark Ages and previous to that. We've sort of bought into an idea that pre-Christian societies were somehow morally lacking fiber. They were hedonistic and self-destructive, or all of these things that are massive generalizations. That there's obviously going to be a good bit of truth behind them, because look at all of the societies under Christianity. They also are extremely suffering from many of the same problems that preceded it. Getting rid of human sacrifice, and that was probably not to say probably, that's definitely a positive thing. But not all pagans and pre-Christians were involved in that. So we make our generalizations at our own peril. So that is the basic idea of today's video. We want to make sure that we're not going to charge into some kind of some sort of rut that actually does not afford us the proper tools to even fight back against the transhumanist and post-humanist communitarian New World Order that's looking to establish itself. One basic thing about Christianity and many earlier monotheistic groups like the Essenes and many others, the Templars, who are technically not Christian, but they definitely, their ideology arose out of this same time period and is very esoterically linked to Christianity. These Christianity is a progressivist and millenarian movement. It is a messianic movement. It's most Christians, and anytime we make generalizations about any large group, there's going to be those to whom that does not apply. So I want to make sure that I am make it incredibly clear that there are exceptions to almost everything. And each of those needs to be looked at individually as to where it falls on this continuum, this spectrum of ideas, and to when we make large generalizations, we are generally people will be able to find a place where your generalizations don't apply. So with that caveat in place, Christianity is a millenarian and progressivist based dogma. So if we're going to be dealing with transhumanist agenda being brought forth to as this communitarian transhumanist idea is presents itself as the future of humanity, we need to see that it actually comes out of the same basic roots as Christianity did, which is also these are both millenarian transcendent movements. They are believing that humanity will transcend into some sort of kingdom of heaven, or we'll see the Messiah come back, and then we'll have some sort of utopia. Even though you can certainly argue that a Christian utopia and the return of a Messiah is radically different than putting chips in our heads and turning us into some sort of infantilized robot being that is a cog in the wheel of the machine, the massive AI, whatever singularity. These are actually really not very different when you come down to energetics. So that's something we need to keep our eyes on very carefully. As I said, early Christianity was a type of communitarianism. There was, the idea that people did not have their own possessions, and the church basically possessed everything, or the, whatever monastic order. This is also not that different from our, our would-be overlords in modern day, what they want to put upon us, which is, that right there is why, we definitely one reason why a lot of established Christian churches have just rolled over to the New World Order agenda. They're putting their virtue signaling flags out front and proclaiming their inclusivity and diversity, and all of these words that are very, very much the construct, newspeak that has been created by the woke communitarians who want to see us all be dominated by this love for the greater good, this collectivist idea of that we're going to achieve social justice, and that individual justice doesn't matter, or is some sort of byproduct of a social justice. And anybody who is still, I don't want to make enemies of people who should be my friend, but the idea of social justice is a very, very, very slippery and largely meaningless concept, like a lot of collective constructs that just don't. They have no real place in public discourse. You can talk about them. I don't want to say you can't talk about them. I think we've gained some things by a focus on so-called social justice, but there is no other justice that's available to us than the justice of people. If society creates some basic laws, and then there's some agreement around individual justice in individual cases where there can be a very limited remuneration and compensation for wrong that is done. So if basic rules of human interaction are broken, that there's a methodology for getting that corrected on the individual level, not whole demographics and not whole swaths of population that are going to be accused of holding certain views that are unpopular, and therefore those people should be rounded up or forced to declare their fealty and belief in the woke social justice constructs that are as full of holes as a sieve. They're in many ways useless. I don't want to discourage people from wanting there to be a just society, but this is not it. What is going on is not a way to get there. It is a cul-de-sac that is causing a great deal of harm to people who believe that they're being virtuous and are better people, and they're somehow, if everybody believed what they believed, then the world would be a perfect utopian place. And it has never, ever, ever been the case. That's not how things work here. So the established Christianity is not, in fact, doing anything except for getting on board with the New World Order ideas, and that's largely, I believe, can be explained by the fact that it's just another brand of communitarianism and progressivism that's goes back to the very beginning of Christianity. So hard to argue when you have a certain amount of basic agreements going way back to the very beginning. So Another question that I'd bring up is the messianic ideal a healthy one? Is this something that we should be really indulging ourselves in? I would argue that messianism is not really a positive thing. That doesn't negate any of the things that were said by Christ or any of the other characters in the Bible or any other religious texts. The fact that we're regarding them as a Messiah is not about them, it's about us. It's about how we regard people and whether we put them on this sort of pedestal that they are become a son of God, which if you look at what Christ actually said, I mean, he says that we are all that. So we need to really look at that, in my opinion. Again, this does not necessarily devalue or denigrate anything that's said in the New Testament or the Old Testament, but this is something we need to really think about, because that's become a central focus of these dogmas of these religions that doesn't necessarily need to be there. And again, there are groups that are more nuanced in this way. So just getting back to the basic energetics of this, I mentioned this in my video on archetypal function and evil that I put out just a bit ago, that even mystic Christianity is based in a sun worship, a sun cult. And that is something that there are many great aspects of the sun as a somebody who's sees these things as simply energetic archetypes. The sun is necessary. We need the sun. I'm not sitting here telling you not to honor the sun. That would be just completely stupid. The sun is our light, and it's got an archetypal function. It's the it shows the light of creation. It's our particular local powerhouse that we can't do without it, clearly. So everything is hinged around this, but that's the most basic energetic understanding we have of creation is that there are masculine forces and there are feminine forces, and everything in this plane of existence is some degree of admixture of these two basic forces. If we're going to go and say that there's we only need light, that light is the all we'll ever want and need, then we should remember that Lucifer, the term, is the bringer of light, and Christ was considered a Lucifer by those who understood that Lucifer is a title and not a person, not an individual character. It may have referred to many individual characters throughout history or in various scripture, but it's a title. The bringer of light does not, light can blind us, light can lead us astray. Light can only light up so much of creation at one time. If you look at the Hermit card in the tarot, you will see the old man who is looking into the darkness in the mountains with his one little light, and that is not a light of hubris. That is a light of recognition that we are extremely limited in our ability to see what is real. If we make the mistake that we can, that our light is so brilliant and we found the true way, we are as deluded as people who are sitting in a cave, looking at shadows, in the Platonic example. We do not, we're never going to be beyond, a guy in the mountains with a light looking at the dark, which is all of creation. We'll never get to see more than a little speck of creation, because that is what our consciousness is capable of. If we believe that we've found the great secrets of creation through genetics or quantum theory or any of these things, we're in deep trouble, because we haven't. We just haven't. We have not found any sort of miracle that shows us everything about everything. No Internet of Things is going to connect all things. That is a horrible and ridiculous infantilization and hubris. That is purely in order for rich people to track everything as best they can, and then make bets on its viability, and then create a derivatives market around all of creation. That is all that is. It is not some kind of amazing technology that is going to change things for us. For the better, it's going to enslave us if we allow it to go any further. So, getting back to my relationship with personal relationship with Christianity is I do not see any problem with it. I just would, I appreciate very much the benefits that people get, in their own lives. But there needs to be some context put back into the situation, which is in danger of being lost. It's, if we want to charge backwards towards a paradigm in which the getting behind the castle walls of Christianity and being prepared to fight transhumanism from there, we need to really think about what we're doing. Then we need to do that. That's for sure. We need to find a place to be that will from which the many assaults upon humanity are going to they cannot fight us from this place, and that place, there's room there for Christian thought, but there's also needs to be understanding that a lot of human knowledge and art and science was destroyed in the name of the dogmatism of early Christian dogmatists, and what was essentially an organized crime syndicate, between the church and early warlords, went around and destroyed a spectacular amount of knowledge, either the people who held it or the books or their artifacts, and all of the above, all of the above. So we need to not go there again. The powers that be would love to see the world divided into those who embrace their radical communitarian transhumanist agenda and everything that's behind that, and those who who just go into some sort of atavism, a cultish atavistic type of monotheistic. We would call it, a right wing to the transhumanist left. And we don't want that. We do not want to be herded ideologically into some place that's indefensible. We need to keep our minds as open to different ideas and different possibilities as is possible. So there's so much more to say about this, but in the interest of a relatively brief video, I'm going to say that's it for today. Again, I am extremely shadow banned on all of the social media. and video platforms. So I hope you'll check back with me. My website is michaelmsuter.com. I just hopefully fixed an issue with my email coming in through my website, so I now can receive email. So that is it for today. If you have any questions or responses, feel free to get in touch with me, or also to get an astrology reading, which I am always happy to do. All right, thank you very much.